Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
This is the meeting for the Mobile City Planning Commission for Thursday, September 16th, 2021. General procedures for this remote meeting are as follows. I will announce an application for items where no one from the public is attending via Zoom. Staff will give an overview, including any comments received from the public. If a member of the public will attend the meeting, staff will announce their attendance and admit them at this time. Once the parties have joined the meeting, if needed, I will state the commission's rules regarding the number of speakers as well as speaking time. Each application is limited to a maximum of 4 speakers in support and 4 people in opposition, limited to 5 minutes each. I will then announce the beginning of the public hearing. The applicant will present their case and up to 3 additional speakers, if applicable, for each speaker. At the end of their presentation, I will ask if there are any questions from any commission members. Once the commission concludes their questions of the speakers in support of an application, I will then call for interested parties to speak. At the end of each speaker's presentation, I will again ask if there are any questions from the commission. The applicant will be given an opportunity to rebut in accordance with commission rules, 2 minutes. After the rebuttal, I will declare the public hearing closed and the commission will go into deliberation session. After the commission has rendered a decision, the applicant and concerned parties will leave the meeting or will be sent back to the waiting room by staff where they can disconnect. I will then call the next agenda item. Commission members and staff, please remember to keep your microphone on mute unless you're speaking to the meeting attendees. Roll call, myself present, Ms. Jennifer Denson.
Here.
Mr. J. Stubbs.
Here.
Ms. Shirley Sessions. Mr. Alan Cameron.
Here.
Mr. Taylor Atchison.
Here.
Mr. Matt Anderson.
Here.
Mr. Nick Omberger.
Here.
Ms. Bess Rich. Ms. Susan Carley.
Here.
Mr. Kirk Matai.
Here.
We have a quorum. We have the agenda has been sent to us. It's before you. I move for adoption of the agenda.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor of adoption of the agenda? By saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The agenda is adopted. We'll begin with item number 1, holdovers, 2662 Fillingham Street. For planning approval, Blood Covenant Evangelistic Church Ministries. It's recommended for holdover to the October 7th meeting. Is the applicant present?
Mr. Chairman, I've admitted Ms. Doris Bettis into the meeting. Ms. Bettis, can you unmute? Ms. Bettis, if you're on a cell phone, I think if you hit *6, you can unmute. Mr. Chairman, she's entered into the meeting. If you would recall, this item was on a previous agenda. The applicant has submitted a variance because the site plan does not provide adequate parking. The Planning Commission held over this application until this meeting because the Board of Zoning Adjustment was scheduled to meet this past Monday, the 13th. There was an issue with legal advertisements associated with several of the applications on that agenda. This application is one of those items, and the board will not be hearing this application until next Monday, the 20th. Therefore, we are recommending that this application be held over to the Planning Commission's first meeting in October.
Is she unable to speak?
I've asked to unmute also via the function of Zoom, and she has not been able to unmute, but I believe that she did not have any opposition to this being held over. With the board meeting on Monday, the 20th, permits could not be issued for this application until the end of the 15-day appeal period, which would come up the same week as the Planning Commission's October 7th meeting.
Okay. Was there anybody else here for or against this?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll close public hearing. This item was recommended for holdover till October 7th meeting. There was not an objection that we know of. As such, I'll make the motion that this item be held over till October 7th.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor for holdover?
Aye.
Any opposed? Items held over till our October 7th meeting. Item number 2, 105 North Jackson Street. I'm recused on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Gant. I'll take chair of the meeting at this point. 105 North Jackson Street. Staff has recommended approval subject to conditions. Is the applicant on the line?
Madam Chairman, Chairperson, I have admitted Larry Moore, and I believe Ms. Kawana Gill is with him. Mr.
Okay.
Moore, could you unmute, please?
Yes. All right,
Mr. Moore,
we're unmuted.
Okay.
It was on mute. It's unmuted now.
that's okay. Madam Chairperson, I have Ms. Moore and Ms. Gill on the line. I have also entered Bob Isaacson, Mark Minaret, and Peter Burns into the meeting as well. They will be speaking in opposition. If I may, before the applicant begins making their presentation, in order to be in compliance with the allowance for Zoom meetings, I do want to read into the record the names of those people that have submitted correspondence regarding this application, and all of this has been provided to the commission. You should have received in support correspondence from Larry C. Moore, Kawana Gill, Timothy Lombardo, Mallory McGowan Nibley, Erica Perkins, Brenda Gable Spencer, Christine Penn Yory, and John Yory. In opposition, you should have correspondence from Jim Gilbert, Mark Minaret, who is also a speaker, Larry C. Moore, Lucy.
Not opposition.
Oh, I apologize. That is correct. That was connected to an email that you had sent, Mr. Moore.
Okay.
Lucy Coate, Sandra Dempsey, Robert J. Isaacson, also a speaker. Again, Jim Gilbert and Lee Wessinger.
Perfect. You want me to jump in now?
Yes, sir.
The staff, this is Doug Anderson, attorney for the commission. The staff has asked me to kind of do a little intro here. We've had this application before us for several meetings. A lot has been said, a lot of facts thrown out there. And I just want to get everybody kind of back to the center and concentrate on what the relevant ordinances and facts are. This is an application for planning approval for an occupancy load exceeding 100 people in a T51 district. In reviewing this application, I would stress to the commission, the applicant, and all speakers that the review for planning approval as established by the zoning ordinance is based on the following. There's three different criteria. First is the use and plan in this district appropriate with regard to transportation and access, water supply, waste disposal, fire and police protection, and other public facilities. Second one, does the use and plan cause undue traffic congestion or create a traffic hazard? Finally, is the use and plan in harmony with the orderly and appropriate development of the district in which the use is located? I'd also remind the commission in rendering their decision must be based on findings of fact enumerated above and in the application. The findings cannot be based or related to an individual. That is for the city council to decide if this gets approved and she goes to get a liquor license, then issues dealing with the individual and her past history with this location would be relevant. But they are not relevant for this application. In the past couple of meetings, I know in the last meeting, there was a lot of discussion about, is it a club? Is it a lounge? Is it a nightclub? Is it a private club? Is it a bar? In the downtown development district ordinance, there's no real distinction between the three. The chart we have for the DDD puts these in this category, or this use in this category: restaurant, bar, catering, entertainment, theater, or brew pub. So there doesn't need to be any discussion about or a debate about whether it's a club, a bar, private club. It's irrelevant. They all become in the same category under the DDD. As far as the conformity with the neighborhood, I think it's important to understand the area and what's there. We do have on the St. Louis corridor 2 brew pubs in the not so much immediate vicinity, but within a few blocks. We got Old Majestic and Braided River breweries. Those are a different zoning classification and did not need this type of planning approval. I don't know this to be a fact, but it's been represented to me that those 2 breweries close at about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. A couple blocks from this location to the north, we have the Iron Hand Brewery, which has the same zoning as this application, but they have less than 100 capacity. They have not asked for planning approval to go more. We talked a lot about the charts that's in the staff report, page 5 of the staff report, of the similar applications that have been entertained by the Planning Commission in the last 7 years. Majority of those, well, all of them, have been either on, the ones approved, have either been on Dolphin Street or within 1 block of Dolphin Street. The one that hasn't, all but one, the Ice Box on Monroe Street, started out with less than 100. They were in operation and then came to the commission for planning approval, which was granted back in April to increase from under 100 to 149 capacity. I know there will be speakers that address the residential character of this area. I'm not sure how many units there are, but I believe that will be discussed by some of the speakers. And finally, please remember to the speakers that each side is limited to 4 speakers, and each speaker has 5 minutes. So please plan accordingly. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Ms. Pappas, is the applicant, Mr. Moore or Ms. Gill, would they like to make some comments at this time?
Mr. Moore is in the meeting. Mr. Moore, is Ms. Gill with you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to reiterate my plan to the commission with my bar.
Ms. Gill, if you would, and all speakers, please begin by stating your name and your address, please. Thank you.
I'm Kawana Gill, 105 North Jackson Street. Again, I would like to reiterate some of my plans for my location. I know that there has been some concerns about the parking. I have spoken with the guy across the street. We do have a vacant lot. It has been told to me that it's the 2nd largest lot in downtown Mobile, Alabama. As far as the capacity, once again, if you move all of my furniture out of the way, I still don't think I would be comfortable with 300 plus individuals being in there at a time. But again, because of code, I'm sure with fire and the space, I'm thinking that that's a necessity. I don't foresee it. I explained to the individuals when I met with them, I don't foresee my spot being a place where it's going to be heavy traffic. Would I like great business? Of course. I see individuals coming in, having a cocktail, leaving from shopping, conducting business meetings, possibly just hanging out, just having a good time. I do open at 3 p.m. and until 10 or 11 on weekdays. It depends on the crowd, and I'm going to just base that off of how they're feeling. On weekends, I plan on staying open no later than 2. On Sundays, I do plan on closing earlier, around 10 or 11. But once again, I'm not interested in loud music. I'm not interested in being a disturbance. I'm only interested in becoming a part of the downtown development. Like I said before, it has always been a dream of mine. I explained to the individuals when I met with them, I'm going to also be naming some of my cocktails. Support City Hurricane, the Dolphin Island Iced Tea, the Senior Bowl and Rita. I want to make it conversation piece and bring about fun facts about Mobile for tourists. I want tourists to stop here and have a great experience and feel like this is a spot or a gym. That's why my logo is a gym, because I consider Mobile a diamond in the rough. That's where the logo came from. I'm very passionate about this. I'm very passionate about being downtown. I hate that I am considered going to be a disturbance, because I wanted to meet with them and be on the same page and come to an agreement, because I want to assure the safety of my guests as well as the residents. I do not want for them to feel like this is going to be a location that's going to be loud and rowdy and people are just going to be hanging out. People are just going to be being a disturbance, being a nuisance, no regard for the resident. I don't foresee that. That's not my plan. I'm going to have Mobile Police Department at a certain time there to make sure that everyone is in line and in order. I don't see a line outside. I explained that to them as well, because once again, I want it to be an opening door. I'll come in and out. Jukebox may have a live band here and there, a musician, a piano player, a saxophonist, just an amenity instead of a nuisance for the downtown area. I want to be an amenity. I want it to be something that they're excited to even come by and have a cocktail and have a drink. I'm done.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Ms. Gill. Does the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Gill?
Yes, I do.
Or would you like, oh, go ahead, Mr. Amberger.
When we last met, I guess our question or our request was that the applicant meet with the surrounding neighbors and have conversations to try to work out whatever concerns that they might have with the two sides could maybe hopefully come to us with, with a consensus, possibly on voluntary, suggested restrictions by the applicants. I'm just curious, did that meeting take place? And if so, what, if any outcome was there to that meeting?
Yes, sir. That meeting took place Monday, September 13th, 2021. As a matter of fact, that was the second interaction that a representative from Canary Bar met with the individuals. That was our second time meeting with them. But during that meeting, I met with a Miss Lee Wessinger, a Mr. Robert Bob Isaacson, and a Mr. Mark Minaret. I expressed to them sort of what I explained to you guys today. I honestly don't feel like anything that I could have said was going to stop them from thinking or feeling how they, felt. At the end of the meeting, Miss Wessinger, she was excited about my plan. She thought it was a great idea. She did comment to me that she loved my passion. She loved my ideas. She thought it would be great. She just was worried about the occupancy. Whereas Mr. Minaret and Mr. Isaacson, I sort of felt integrated and just a little humiliated. I was asked things, was I a drug addict? So that led me to not even want to continue with the meeting. I did, because it was going into my personal life and I was coming there to make amends with them, and it has nothing to do with how I run an establishment, and I kind of felt attacked. So that made me kind of, I wasn't too comfortable.
Well, thank you for having the meeting. I think that's helpful to the commission.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I was going to bring to the attention of the board, when I was letting everyone in, I also have with Ms. Gill entered Mr. Joseph Rodriguez, who is available regarding the drawings and how the occupancy count was arrived at.
Yep. Jennifer, if I may, this is Taylor. Ms. Gill, again, I want to compliment you on your project, and real enthused by your commitment for starting a new business in downtown Mobile. It still seems to me that the occupancy is the overall issue, and I just wanted to ask, has there been any discussion with your architect or your designers on ways to reduce the occupancy load to maybe kind of bring it more into the neighborhood feel that the neighbors are asking for?
According to the architect, because of reasons regarding the fire department, they are going, I guess, because of the size of the building and the space. I think that they wouldn't agree if it was anything less than 340. I know I wouldn't be saying that ever, but I think that's just protocol to my understanding. But my seating and my vision, I never foresee that amount of people being in the establishment. I think it's just simply protocol.
I'm Joseph Rodriguez. I could speak to that if you'd like.
Yes,
sir,
please.
please go ahead.
Based on the international building codes for this type of a structure, the total building count in the building itself is, in terms of fire and all, is 262 people. That doesn't include that courtyard area. I think planning is concerned about that too, but it's 262 people plus, based on what perhaps the planning commission would like to see. But as far as the international building codes, the number is 262 people total.
Thank you. And Mr. Rodriguez, have you done a count? What's the occupancy on the second floor alone? And has there been any consideration for keeping the establishment on one floor to reduce this large occupancy number?
Well, the fire won't let me, first of all, to answer your first question, the second floor occupancy is 161 people. The first floor is 101 people.
Okay, thank you.
Lonnie, I wanted to say too, if I will, that does not take into account the furniture that is going to be there. Just so you'll know that.
Jennifer, this is Doug. Question for the staff. Wasn't the courtyard required to be included in the count?
Yes, that's correct.
So that's how we get from the 262 inside and the remainder,
It's
about
out
80 plus or minus is the
That's-
outside. Is that correct?
79 outside.
Thank you.
But that's saying that's the maximum that the fire code will allow. It's not setting any kind of minimum for this property.
That's correct. That's a maximum allowed by the fire code.
Right. So I guess I'm confused by the comments about the capacity and the fire department saying that they couldn't reduce the capacity or there couldn't be a limit on the capacity. I think is what
The
Mr. Atkinson's saying.
The fire department is looking at this plan,
Mhm.
and without any furniture, this is the first floor, without any furniture in there. Your occupancy load on the first floor is 101.
Right.
The second floor, again, no furniture, open space. The occupancy load is 161.
I see. Okay.
And then the outside courtyard is, I believe, 79.
Okay.
Ms. Gill, there were some comments about the furniture, and I've read through all of this correspondence we've been sent. I think you mentioned that there would be seating in there, but just the actual application, there's a separate number that I think you referenced in the application, which was, I want to say, in the 170 range. I mean,
That's correct.
and so, I mean, I take this to mean you don't have any intent of reaching that 341 number.
Exactly.
And so maybe this is a point for Doug. I mean, this is a planning approval matter. We have discretion to set that number wherever this commission feels fit.
With 200.
200 is a,
Yeah, 200.
okay.
You should never get 300.
Do you have
Excuse
a-
me, this is Joseph Rodriguez again. When this project gets sent through the permits department, they will have to look at the total number of 262. And of course, mind you, the furniture, fire looks at it if there wasn't furniture there, but if furniture was put in, that would be even less. But in terms of getting us through the city permits department, they're going to look at the 262 people, and that goes without reason. They're going to force us to do that.
That's good. 262. I like that.
If I can further explain, what the commission has before you right now is whether or not to allow this occupancy at a total of 341, which consists of 262 people inside, 79 people in the courtyard. You have to remember the occupancy is counted by building and fire codes. They're not counted by the zoning ordinance. And those loads further drive other code issues, bathrooms, exits, sprinkling, fire extinguishers, all of those kinds of things. So, but the commission today at this meeting is strictly considering the occupancy number for this address and whether or not it can be 341.
So what you're saying, Margaret, is that the commission cannot pick a number, whether it's 170 or 240, it's either less than 100 or 341.
Doug, I would defer to you in terms of whether or not the commission has the authority to restrict the approval to a number less than 341 as driven by the building and fire code. More than likely, though, the building and fire code, regardless of the commission's actions today, are going to base their review compliance based on the numbers dictated by their code. So if the commission chose a lesser number than 341, I believe building and fire code would still have to base all of their life safety requirements and minimum code requirements based on that higher number.
And that makes sense. But
Excuse me, one point.
if Ms.
bring
Gill did a voluntary restriction to a number, 180, 220, whatever that number is, and made that a condition of approval, just like hours of operation, what enforcement does the city have over that?
I think from a zoning perspective, our enforcement of whatever number is approved is going to be the same as it would be for any of the other sites that have already been approved. We would be advised that the business was not operating in compliance with the Planning Commission's approval, and we would work with other city regulatory agencies to go out, conduct an investigation, and issue a UNTCC as appropriate.
Okay, thanks.
Excuse me, by the way, that number that the fire codes are going to look at is 262 people. They are not concerned about the courtyard. That is the egress for inside of the building. So again, the number is actually 262 people total.
Because that's inside the building. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Excuse me, this is Larry Moore. I wasn't sure if I'm allowed to speak or not speak. Did the 5 minutes go strictly to Ms. Gill, or do I also get 5 minutes?
No, sir, you can also have 5 minutes, but
Okay.
if we're going to move on to our second person speaking in favor of the application, we can do that, and we can go ahead with you, Mr. Moore. You may speak.
I appreciate that. To the board. This area, take my mask down. They revised that.
Address, please, sir, Mr.
Area.
Yeah, Mr. Moore, if you could give us your name and address, please.
I'm sorry, it's Larry Mora, attorney, 107 North Jackson Street. Again, for the record, your sign has been posted for a number of weeks outside, showing that there's to be a meeting, and whoever had some concerns could contact the board. From my count, roughly 13 people out of the entire area have filed some type of contest to this application. I have no idea what the rest of the community, they've all seen this. I've run across several people, and none of those people I've run across have said anything in objection to this application being done. So we got 13 people who this committee is looking at, whether 13 people going to control everything. Everything most of the 13 people are relying on, out of everybody in this entire area, 13, is the fact that TAG had a history here. TAG, not what Ms. Gill had for Canary Bar, but what TAG had. In our system of justice, this is not a criminal case. However, they are convicting Ms. Gill on TAG, finding her guilty, and then making her prove her own innocence, prove that she's going to do what she says she's going to do. That's not our way our system operates there. That's not due process there. So we're saying She's followed the guidelines as was laid out by Mr. Anderson. It shows that no expansion is being proposed. There's not going to be any traffic congestion problems because street parking is allowed within the area and commercial parking lots are located nearby. It's in harmony with the orderly and appropriate development of the district in which is used because it is an established entertainment district and similar requests have been granted in the area. Now, y'all further go on to say that occupancy load is to be limited, and we have no problem with the 260 whatever that was for the occupancy of the inside. That's fine. And full compliance with all municipal codes and ordinances. Canary Bar will comply with everything. This is not a situation, as was pointed out in the opening statement, I think that was Mr. Anderson, who said this is not personal things, it's whether or not it fits within those guidelines. Now, I'm not sure what the residents could have to show that it does not fit within those guidelines. And we're merely asking that she not be found guilty without having, and then having to prove her own innocence on that. She's given you her plan, how she planned to conduct the business there. And let's see if she conducts it accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Are there any questions from commissioners for Mr. Moore? Ms. Pappas, is there anyone else here to speak in favor of the application?
No, ma'am. The first speaker in opposition.
Mark, I do have a question. This is for Larry and it may be Ms. Gill. Because in reading over all this correspondence, I've seen references from opponents saying that Ms. Gill was involved in that prior bar, and I've seen references that she wasn't. Ms. Gill, were you working at the previous establishment?
I explained to the individuals who I met with Monday, I'm a subcontractor. Canary Bar has been in existence since 2015. Not only have I worked at TAG, I have worked at numerous clubs in the area. Anywhere that my business is hired, if it's a club, if it's a ball, if it's a wedding anniversary. But to answer your question, have I worked there for an event? Have I done several occasions bartending there? Yes, I have. I've been subcontracted to do it not only at TAG, but at numerous locations.
Right. You're not the owner of the business.
I wasn't the owner. I didn't dictate how it was ran. I didn't have any say-so in anything other than me just coming there doing a job. And I actually did not see anything that was, I felt like that was out of line. I seen a lot of professionals. I seen a lot of politicians, such as Mayor Simpson. I've seen him in there on a few occasions. I've seen NFL players. I've seen athletes. The things that they're saying, which I'm not saying that it's not true. I just didn't witness that during my duration at the location.
But now you're going to own this one and you will make the rules.
Thank you, Ms. Gill. I appreciate that. Ms. Pappas, do you want to go ahead and call the first the person in opposition?
Yes, it'd be Robert Isaacson.
Mr. Isaacson, could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my address is 157 North Conception Street, Mobile, Alabama. I'm about half a block off of St. Louis Street to the about 2 blocks from this facility. My name is Robert J. Isaacson. I own property on 3 sides of this property. And I'd like to point out, if I might, that again, if you had to jump the blue purple in I noted it yesterday and sent it in, but your project here is incorrect, your classifications. All of the buildings between St. Francis and St. Michael on the west side you show as offices, and those are residential. All of those. There's 1 house and 5 apartments there, and they're owned by Kevin. Kevin that was coming here to talk, and he had an emergency camp. I own the office building that's directly adjacent to this, because this lounge not only occupies 107 or 105, It actually goes into the property of 107. And my property starts next to 107 on the office building. And then I own all four corners. Plus I own what's over here called the gym, GYM, which we're converting to a Ace Hardware. But we love her ideas. We love what she's thinking and what she's espoused. We met with her. Nothing that she said was against our neighborhood. We're looking for what Mr. Anderson said, harmony with the development of our neighborhood. We have a residential neighborhood, all residential, primarily it's mixed use, north of St. Michael's Street. Our bars and restaurants up here have been restricted and have closed. They close primarily 8 o'clock at night during the week, 10 to 12 o'clock at night on the weekends. This is a small community events. We have, and you have this precedent. Iron Hand, I own Iron Hand. I wanted to put it into DeConte Square. I came to the Planning Commission because I wanted more than 100. But the Planning Commission told me, no, we can't do that. So they have to go back to the commission. You have to go back if you want more than 100 and go back to the neighborhood and bring the neighborhood with you. I went back, I met the neighborhood several times. The operator met the neighborhood several times. We signed an agreement between Iron Hand and the neighborhood. We brought that back and we got our building permits, et cetera. Now, we've never come back to ask for more people, which we could have, and the neighborhood would have supported us, but we agreed what we would do. You did it with the down in Church Street. I think somebody talked about it just a minute ago. They came in, asked for more than 100 people. You said, no, thank you. You got the neighborhood up in arms against you, work with the neighbors and come back. You have 100 people. You turned it down. They went back, they operated their bar for some period of time. They met with the neighbors, they made an agreement. They came back to you, you gave them 149. You did exactly the same thing with 401 Dolphin Street. At 401 Dolphin Street, he wanted to increase. He's on Dolphin Street, which is where the activity is, where most of the permits have been improved. But he was across and down the street from a residential development that claimed and said he's not in harmony of the orderly development of this block, this one block. And he was told to go with the neighbors and make a deal, but he didn't. And so you just flat turned him down for an increase above 100. So at least you've done it 3 times. And we're asking you to do the same thing here. We want her to succeed. We went there to make a deal with her. There was no deal to be made. She wants to be open. As long as she wants to be open, she's going to have whoever she wants. If she wants lines out front, she says she's not going to have any, but we have no special about that. We're not trying to hurt this. I want her cocktails. We have no specialty cocktails up north of St. Michael Street. We'd love to have that, but we are looking for a compatibility with our neighborhood. We spent millions of dollars. We're building residential all the way around to the ones that are not already there. And we beg you not to allow any increase above 100 until she can operate for some period of time, exhibit that she's really going to do what she says, and then we can meet with her and make a deal with her. Maybe the deal is that she opens till 1 o'clock at night on Friday nights. I don't know, but we have, my personal residence is going to be less than 150 feet from her. 150 feet. So if she said what she's going to do and she doesn't do that, or she starts not making enough money to make the rent, she re-rents the building to someone else. They have the right to go do whatever they want with 341 people. We're asking you to limit her to 100, let her operate for a period of time. We'll meet with her. We are not against her bar. We're not against her. We need that. We like that. We want this development. We want mixed use, residences and businesses that are compatible with our residences. And please, north of St. Michael is different than Dolphin Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh, I'm
Isaac.
sorry. Can I say one more thing, please?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
If she makes an agreement with the neighbors, like we did at Iron Hand and like the proprietor did down at the Ice House, that agreement is enforceable by the neighborhood. So if she says at 10, she's going to close on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock, and she doesn't, we can enforce our agreement. If if you set a time and she does not close at whatever time you say, or maintain whatever number of people, or keep the whatever, then the neighborhood has no enforcement capability. That's why we ask you to allow us to do a direct agreement with her, just like you've done at the Ice House, just like we did at the Iron Hand. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. Are there any questions by commissioners for Mr. Isaacson? Ms. Pappas, would you like to ask the next person to speak?
Yes, Mark Minaret.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mark Minner. I live at 312 North Joachim. So we did meet, we met Monday. We tried to discuss some of these things. Now, for the record, Ms. Gill, I never asked you any personal questions. And I want to go on the record, first things first. You know, Mr. Moore, you talked about only 13 people spoke in opposition. But for the record, I represent both the Tonte Square and the Downtown Mobile Residents Coalition. So between those two groups, that actually represents a couple of hundred people, not 13. So we just need to be aware of that. And when we go back to TAG, one of the questions that we have, and one of my concerns is, Mr. Moore was the owner of that building at that time with his business next door, and has said to us that he didn't see any problem with the place. So, you know, honestly, I think Ms. Gill is probably getting caught up in some things that maybe Mr. Moore overlooked when he was renting it to the Tag Bar. Again, my concern is mostly going to be the safety and security of the people in that area, the citizens that I represent, the neighbors that I represent. Can you put up that purple map again that shows the existing zoning? See that church right there? That's a big concern of mine, as is this property over here on St. Louis Street with the St. Louis Lofts and the ongoing and upcoming development in the area. So those are my concerns. I asked the same questions that I asked everybody else. You know, what are you going to do about lines? What are you going to do about litter? What are you going to do about noise? And the common answer, and the only answer I was given, is we don't think it's a problem. So I still haven't gotten any answers with regards to those questions that we have. And, you know, Mr. Isaacson has suggested that we keep it at 100 for a year and then come back. And I got to say, I really support that idea. And I think the neighborhood would embrace that. And honestly, I think the neighborhood would support this organization, this outfit, if we did give it, you know, a year, came back and it was a legitimate thing. But if it turns into a club, then of course that's not something that we want. So I don't see where the harm is in giving her a year to operate. Maybe I'm just naive. So those are my biggest concerns right there.
Thank you.
Any questions or?
Menor, are there any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I've got a question. So Mark, did you say that you were rendering your opinions just now on behalf of the Residents Coalition?
Oh, yeah. So I'm president of the Mobile Downtown Residents Coalition. And that's where I'm speaking on behalf of right now. And
so you're
with the Tonte Square Neighborhood Association. And
so you're I mean, was there ever anything, I don't know how that organization works. Did you guys ever vote on a position, or is this just Mark as the president saying that on behalf of the coalition?
On the coalition? There was a vote that I was made president, but that's a new group actually that we're developing right now. The main focus is the neighbors, and I've spoken to several neighbors right here in the area, and including Lucy Cope, who's asked me to speak on their behalf as well.
So you just mentioned a couple hundred people. I didn't know if there was some kind of big, you know, vote or something.
No. There was no vote by a few hundred people to formally fight this. Actually, this everything was done informally, and I was asked to represent the neighbors and the neighbors' best interest. So that's where we're at. So no, there was not a couple of hundred people, so much as there were
Okay.
a couple hundred people who said, Mark, you go do what you think is best.
No, I understand. Thanks.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Minaret. Ms. Pappas, I believe there's a third speaker.
Yes, Mr. Peter Burns.
Mr. Burns,
Thank you.
welcome. Please state your name and address.
My name is Pete Burns. I live at 255 North Jackson Street. That is a couple of blocks from this location. And I've lived there for, since 2013, but I've owned property downtown since 1979. And I will tell you, living downtown has never been better. The Greer's has just opened up. It's closer to my house than the location at issue. I was here when TAG was open, and I went to TAG. I went to TAG a number of times. Ms. Gill, I don't know if you remember me, and I didn't see your face, so I don't know if I don't know. But my position is that when I was on the Downtown Mobile Alliance, we hired Mr. Andre Dewani to do a form-based code for Mobile. We paid a lot of money. I don't know, that it seems that it was in the range of $300,000. However much it was a lot of money to get zoning that would be appropriate for our community. And we had charrettes, we had all kinds of things, and came up with the existing zoning that we have now. And this is a residential neighborhood. DeTonte is on the map of historic places. We've got the DAR house there. We've got it, and it really is a walkable urban community. It's a wonderful place to be. I think that it's important that we remember that we have to have, one is predictability. As an investor, I want to know that the rules are going to stay the same unless there's some real big reason to change the rules. And I haven't heard a big reason. I think that Bob and Mark make perfectly good sense when they say, please open your specialty bar, and it's going to take a while for it to get going anyway. It's not going to have 170 people or 300 people or anything like that for a while, and get it established and work with the community so that we can come back. Because I go out to eat and drink, and if I can walk 2 blocks instead of 5, better for me. So I think that makes sense. But I do think predictability, Greer's being as close as they are, may not have been as excited about coming to our community if they had felt like there was a bar that was going to be open late at night and might change the neighborhood. I disagree with Larry about one thing that he said. He spoke about he followed all the guidelines. And that is true for the guidelines to apply for a change. But it's important to keep in mind that is what she's applying for, is a change. She's not asking that the rules be enforced as to her. She's asking that the rules be changed. And
One minute.
Thank you. And as a precedent, I think it's also important as an attorney, we deal with precedent where we hear, here's what happened here. So if she gets a variance or approval to go above the 100, what's going to stop Iron Hand? What are you going to tell them when they come in? When Braided River, when somebody else comes in and says, we're in a T5 too. And we want the same treatment that she got. And so I just don't think it's a good idea. We've paid too much money, gone to too much trouble to create exceptions, at least until we know how it's turning out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any commissioners have questions? All right, Ms. Pappas, is there anyone else to speak in opposition?
No, ma'am.
All right, with the applicant, Ms. Gill, would you like to make any remarks in response to the opposition?
Once again, the occupancy, which seems to be the biggest problem, I'm just trying to stay within what would be accepted by the fire code. And I don't want to face another issue dealing with them. I have stated on several occasions, I don't foresee it. Agreeing to it, I don't know if that's going to hurt my permit issue with the fire department. I'm not clear on that, but all I can do is give my word. And my word is I do not expect that many people in there at one time. If you come in there, and someone came on the commission board to take pictures, if you have a view of the pictures, it's mostly seating. So I'm trying to have a conversation piece. My goal is to have people sitting around, like I said, conduct business meetings or have a cocktail. I am almost certain it will not be a line outside. And if it did, I would have the MPD there. Usually a club opens at 9 or 10 o'clock. People rush in at a club at one time and leave at one time. Once again, I know they're all the same, but I am making my business open at 3. So the door will be revolving. People will be coming in and out. I don't see it being that many people. And we have a huge parking lot across the street, the second biggest lot downtown. So there's enough room for parking.
Are there any questions by commissioners?
Margaret, if I may, I mean, Ms. Gill, I mean, you say you have your word is the only thing you have to go on, but you do have more than that. You do have the ability to come forward with voluntary restrictions if you so chose to do so. I think we're all hearing the same thing. The hours of operation and the occupancy seems to be the points of contention. It seems like you're saying the things that would be in line with maybe some use restrictions that you could bring forward that would be in harmony, with those that are maybe have some concerns about your operation. So, I just don't know if that's, something that you want to consider bringing forward, which might help with a decision that would come out of this commission.
My hours of operation are as stated, Tuesday through Thursday from 3 p.m. to 10. If someone is there to 10 or 10:30, I don't say I just will kick them out, but it won't be a late night crowd. I chose 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. We will open at 12 noon. I chose 2 a.m. because that's a weekend hour. People usually don't have to go to work the next day. I know that anything after 2 o'clock would be a nuisance to me if I was living in a residential area. So I wouldn't want to have them uncomfortable, but I think 2 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday is fair. And once again, that's only 2 nights a week. And that's usually when individuals do not have to go to work the next day, presuming that it still ran as a lounge and people are just sitting in there having conversation. The building is actually pretty large. So at 100, I think that's pretty low because for certain, like such as Mardi Gras, special events, I would like to be in compliance for only special occasions. I don't want to agree to such a low number and a holiday or a special occasion come around and I'm not in compliance. And I have a business plan that's suitable for a certain amount of people. That's a personal business plan. my initial number was 179 for the seating. And that's strictly basing it on seats, how many seating I have. And that's actually including outside because I did that on my own.
And we're not opposed to the 179.
And I'm not opposed to the 179.
So, Mr. Chairman, the only issue here is whether it's plus or minus 100 people, right?
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Alan Cameron.
Oh, sorry, I don't have everyone on my camera. Yes, Mr. Cameron, go ahead.
The only thing at issue here is plus or minus 100 people. If we deny it, she stays at 100, right?
I believe that that is true.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
And would there be any restrictions on the hours there, or would the hours just be completely wide open?
Ms. Pappas, what's the situation on that?
I'm looking. I'm trying to go back and see. I don't see where we have, the commission has restricted hours of operation in other venues downtown. However, with a planning approval, that may be something that's within their purview. And I will defer to Mr. Anderson on that. However, with other considerations downtown, there have been requirements regarding no use of outside speakers or amplified sound after 10 p.m. And things of that nature.
And I don't believe that I see in the applicant, well, in the staff report, that there was anything stated by the applicant about the hours. Am I missing that?
That's correct. Now, I did write down, and I would want the applicant to confirm this, that my notes are correct, that she's proposing Tuesday through Thursday, 3 to 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday, noon to 2 a.m. And I apologize, I did not get the Sunday hours.
Sunday will be 12 noon until 9 or 10 p.m. I'll shoot for 9. It's a Sunday.
And is that correct? The question Mr. Cameron had made that if we were to deny this application, it would remain at 100, but there would then not be any time frame requirements?
That is correct. If the commission denies the application, she's limited to less than 100 people. She's limited to 99 people, but then with a denial, you cannot put any conditions on a denial.
And that's 99 people at one time. And she's stated several times that she expects people not to come and stay the whole time. Is that correct?
That is at one single point in time.
Okay.
But the fire code is still at 262, so I will get held up on my license for the fire. That would be another issue.
I'm not sure how that pertains, Ms. Pappas. How would that happen?
As part of her process of obtaining both her business license and her liquor zoning from the city council, both of those processes require that zoning provide a certification or check for compliance. In so doing, if this application is denied, we would have to condition both of those reports to business license and city council that this business is limited to 99 occupants or less.
And that's happened in many other cases for, I mean.
No.
Well, I guess
well,
what I mean is, go ahead.
Okay.
But it's not it won't negatively affect her ability to get a business license or a liquor license though, right? It's not going to cause any additional hurdles or delays for her to be able to get those permits.
That's correct. It is simply a condition associated with that license and approval.
I just want to make sure that the commission, and particularly me, that I understand her concerns that she and Mr. Moore keep referring to as having a problem with the fire, that, with the difference between occupancy load and then what the 100 or 99 and below. I just want to make sure that we understand that.
It is my understanding, regardless of whatever number the commission may assign this, and by denial, you're assigning it basically requiring that it be 99 or below for code compliance issues for exits, bathrooms, fire suppression, if applicable, etc. Those code compliance issues are still going to be set at 262.
Okay.
All right, I have one last question. The 99 and below is strictly inside the walls, doesn't include the the porch area, correct?
I would say probably not, but the big thing is it depended on whether or not access to that courtyard was limited to being within the building. You know, if the only way you can get into that courtyard is through this building, then it would have to be tied to it.
Okay.
Because you could have 99 people in the building,
Yeah.
and then
99 people on the courtyard. Yeah.
So
If no one has any
Madam
other
Chair.
questions of the applicant, why don't we go ahead and close the public hearing and
Okay.
then we can have more discussion.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson. So are there any other questions?
No.
All right, then I will close the public hearing and we'll open deliberations. Is there a motion?
Make a
I'd like to
motion.
make a motion.
Go ahead.
You know, I think that we've got I mean, it seems like a pretty reasonable middle path here. It sounds like everybody's in the neighborhood is not against the idea of the business itself, and we're not generally in the business of just shutting down business. So I think I would like to make a motion to approve the application with an occupancy limit of 170, a restriction on amplified sound for every night of the week, to have no amplified sound after 10 p.m., and to limit operational hours during the week from Monday through Thursday to 10 p.m. and Friday through Sunday to midnight.
I don't think we can do that based on the floor plan presented to us, though, I think is the issue. And I'll let Doug kind of speak to this. I think in staff, that's the whole issue, is what we've been asked to approve based on the floor plan given to us is that over 300 number. And I don't think we can arbitrarily make up a number that isn't in symmetry with the floor plan presented to us. And I'll let Doug kind of elaborate.
Well, to me, it's not really an arbitrary number, since that's the number her initial application had for whatever reason. And that's the number she, I think, stated today that she'd be comfortable with. The issue, as we discussed last time, and I've had a couple of discussions with Margaret, is the enforceability. The fire department's going to enforce it for 340 whatever. The city still, just like any use restriction that we place on any approval, the staff does have the right, the city has the right through its inspectors to, if there is determined to be a violation of any of our conditions, then we have options to give a notice of violation, go to municipal court, or sue in circuit court for declaratory judgment and an injunction. So the key issue to me is in coming down below the fire department capacity max is the enforceability. And I think based on what Margaret has indicated, we still have that ability. But I don't think it's arbitrary, because that's the number she said she'd be comfortable with.
All right, we have a motion. Mr. Anderson, are you speaking? Because you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I just saw that I said 170. That they did not request 170. They said 179. So I
Correct.
misread that number. So if I could just amend my motion to say that number that they requested, and that would, just to make clear, I think that would include the courtyard, because as Ms. Pappas said, there's no way to get to the courtyard unless you go through the building. So that would be my motion.
Is there
I
a
thought-
second? Or-
Well, I thought Ms. Pappas said that we were only, we could only consider less than 100, that we couldn't do an arbitrary number. Is that true? What we're voting on today is just approval of over 100?
What Doug just said is that it's not an arbitrary number, because that's the number they requested to begin with.
Do you want to ask Ms. Gill if she would commit to a use restriction, voluntary use restriction of 179?
Yeah, I mean, if we could.
Ms.
if we could
Gill,
do that, I
did
think it
you
makes
hear
more
that
sense.
question? Did you hear the motion to have a voluntary use restriction of up to 179 people?
She's in the meeting. I've asked Mr. Moore to
I'm okay
unmute.
with that. I'm okay with 179.
Thank you, Ms. Gill.
Thank you.
So the motion was to approve with the cap at 179 to restrict the amplified sounds every night after 10 p.m. and that the hours will be Sunday through Thursday, ending at 10 p.m. and Friday through Saturday, 12 p.m.
Yeah,
Hours on Sunday.
I believe the
was gonna
hours on Sunday, Mr. Anderson, were the hours on Sunday also 10 p.m.? Was it Sunday through Thursday?
I wrote down Sunday was noon to 9 as
Okay.
proposed by Ms. Gill.
Okay, sorry.
okay, so no, but I'm sorry, the motion I made was for midnight on Sunday. But I mean, yeah, she said 9 o'clock, so we could definitely substitute that as well.
Okay.
May I agree? May I speak?
Yeah.
The public hearing, Jennifer, is over.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If there's a question you want to ask her about the hours, you may, but
I see. Okay. Ms. Gill, listening to the hours that we just discussed, Sunday 12 to 9, Monday through Thursday till 10 p.m., Friday and Saturday to 12 p.m., would you be in agreement with those voluntary restrictions?
My only concern is Friday and Saturday, the midnight. It's the weekend. It's Friday and Saturday. Just as an adult, I'm 40. 1 or 2 o'clock, I would really appreciate. I would not go past 2. That's just kind of early to me.
2 days.
Just 2 days a week. I just think it's kind of early. I would say 2 o'clock was my goal, because I have a few ideas that I, wanted to
On Friday and Saturday.
on Friday and Saturday.
All right, thank you.
And it's as far as revenue as well. That's also because that's,
They leave
I
in
do
one place
have
and coming to your place.
issue where, revenue.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Gill. I appreciate your response. So therefore, we have a motion on the table. Mr. Anderson, are you going to stay with that motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with what we've got for right now.
Is there a second or any discussion?
Okay.
Yes, do we have a second?
Second that motion.
Mr. Amberger, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call for, it's been properly motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Why don't we go ahead, Ms. Mathis, do you want a roll call vote? Do you think that
Yes,
would be
please.
best? All right, let's have a
Yes.
roll call vote, please. I do not have the roll in front of me. Would you be able to call that roll, please?
Yes, I would. Mr. J. Stubbs,
My vote is yes.
Alan Cameron,
No.
Taylor Atchison,
Yes.
Matt Anderson,
Yes.
Nick Amberger. Nick,
Yes.
thank you. Miss Susan Carley.
Yes.
Kirk Matei.
No.
The ayes have it.
Thank you. This application is passed. Thank you, Ms. Gill and Mr. Moore. And then I will happily return this back to Mr. Gant to continue with our agenda.
Just to clarify, it was 5-2.
Thank you.
Dig that but that.
Yes, I will. Hold on.
Next on the agenda is new subdivision applications. Item number 3, 1010 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. Hills addition to Fisher Track subdivisions recommended for tentative approval. The applicant present.
He will be in a moment. Okay, there we go. Sorry, it's taking me a moment to clear everything out. I am admitting Don Whittington into the meeting. He is currently connecting to audio. Mr. Whittington, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Whittington's in, and he is representing both items 3 and 4.
Item number 3, 1010 Dr. Thank you, sir. Your item number 3 is up. Your hill addition to Fisher Track Phase 1 is recommended for approval. Do you have any additional information that you'd like to provide or any questions or concerns?
No, we read through it, and unless our client has something to add, we agree to all the conditions of the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions by commissioners? Is there anyone else here to speak for or against this, Margaret?
No, sir.
Hearing none on item number 3, I'm closing public deliberation. We have subdivision phase 1, which is recommended for approval. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor of the application?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passed. Item number 4, 940 and 954 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. Hills addition to Fisher Track subdivision phase 2 recommended for approval. Are you in agreement with the conditions on this one as well?
Yes.
Applicant has spoken, is in an agreement. Are there any questions by commissioners? Is there anyone else here to speak for or against this? I'll close public deliberation. We have item number 4 before us that's recommended for approval. Is there a motion?
Move to approve, subject to staff recommendations.
I have a motion. I didn't hear a second.
I'll second that.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passed. Thank you, sir.
All right.
The item number 5, 2100 North University Boulevard. The locale subdivision. It's recommended for approval. Applicant present.
Yes, sir. I've admitted Ms. Hartley, Debbie Hartley into the meeting. Ms. Hartley, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Hartley, your application is before us and it's recommended for approval. Do you have any questions or comments concerning it?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you in agreement with the staff recommendation?
Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
I am.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Applicant is present and in agreement. Any questions by commissioners? Hearing none, are there anyone else here to speak for or against this, Ms. Pappas?
No, sir.
All right, well, then we'll close public deliberation. Item before us, the locale subdivision recommended for approval. Is there a motion?
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passed. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Recommended for approval. Is there a motion?
I've admitted Mr. Brad Justice into the meeting. Mr. Justice, if you could, please kill the live stream. It gives an echo.
Discussion. All in favor?
Okay, that's not nice.
Aye.
Item
Okay.
number, all right, item number 6, 1231 Cochran Causeway, Martin Energy Services, Blakely Island Storage Site Subdivision. The item is recommended for tentative approval. The applicant is present. Is there any questions or comments concerning the staff report?
No, sir.
Thank you. Any questions by commissioners? Hearing none. Margaret, is there anyone else here to speak for or against this?
No, sir.
Thank you. We now will close public deliberation. Item number 6 is before us. It's recommended for approval by staff. Is there a motion?
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Item passed. Thank you, sir. Item number 7, 5358 Coyman Road, Highway 90 Interstate 10 Business Park Subdivision. It's recommended for tentative approval. The applicant been admitted.
Yes, sir. I've admitted Jason Linder into the meeting. Mr. Linder, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Thank you. Before us is your application. It's recommended for approval. Do you have any additional information, questions, or comments?
I did have one question. Looking through the items, I believe it said it was subject to a rezoning.
That is correct.
So what do we need to be rezoning to?
You need to look at your proposed use, maybe converse with staff, but as proposed, you would create a split zoned lot with the incorporation of this portion into this lot 1.
Okay, because the way we have it now, we're going to have a portion of the lot, 2 different zonings on.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, that's what I figured. That was really the only main question I had. As far as the rest of the comments, pretty clear on what we need to do to get everything else up to compliance.
Thank you, sir. Any questions by commissioners?
Yeah, I've got one.
So-
is the applicant sure on the size that he wants? Because if he was following the zoning, I know he's cutting that property into 2 lots, but if he was not making it that big, he wouldn't be going back through a zoning exercise. I just want to make sure the applicant's clear that that's actually the size that he wants, because if it was smaller, he wouldn't have to come back for zoning.
Yes, the current owner of the lot 1 in the original subdivision before the re-subdivision application, he's basically wanting to purchase an additional 2 acres out of the original lot 2.
Okay.
So that's the purpose of the re-subdivision, is the current owner wanting an additional 2 acres north of his existing lot.
Just wanted to be clear, because it looks like there's again, of course, a zoning will go back ultimately before our city council. Is that not correct, Margaret?
That's correct. And Mr. Amberger, just to make it clear, this existing zoning configuration follows the existing lot lines.
Okay.
And realistically, I would suggest that, depending on the use, the owner would either request I-1 for his lot, what will become this lot, or B5.
So just to help me understand here, so we're looking at a potential the subdivision here, and they're going to come back at some point, do the rezoning, and that's going to eliminate the split zoning that we're about to create, or that we're about to perpetuate.
This is not going to create the split zoning based on that recommended condition, because the plat cannot be recorded until the rezoning is complete.
Got it. Okay, cool.
So the zoning is a fixed point. It doesn't follow the property line. I'm just asking a question.
The zoning follows the existing property line. In order to record the plat as proposed, this area here will have to be rezoned. What is proposed?
So it doesn't automatically move when the property line moves.
That's correct. A rezoning application must be initiated and approved by city council first.
Okay. Any other questions by commissioners? Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak for or against this?
No, sir.
All right. Having none, we'll close public deliberation. The item before us, number 7, 5358 Corman Road, is recommended for approval with staff recommendations. Is there a motion?
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Item passed. Thank you, sir. New rezoning applications. Item number 8, 2551 Casale Street, Henry Thomas Cobb and Barbara Rose Cobb. It's recommended for approval. Is the applicant present?
Yes, sir. I have just admitted Barbara Cobb into the meeting. Ms. Cobb, you're on mute. Can you hear us? Barbara Cobb.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. You are
Okay.
now in the meeting.
Thank you. Your application is before us. It's currently recommended for approval. Do you have any additional information or questions or comments?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any questions by commissioners? Hearing none, is there anyone else here to speak for or against this, Margaret?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. That'll close public hearing session. Now go into deliberation. 2551 Casal Street, recommended zoning is recommended for rezoning. Is there a motion?
Move to approve subject to staff recommendations.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor of rezoning?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Margaret, do we need a roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call vote. Would you go down the list, please?
Yes. Ms. Denson,
Aye.
Jay Stubbs,
My vote was yes.
Alan Cameron,
Yes.
Taylor Atchison,
Yes.
Matt Anderson,
Yes.
Nick Amberger,
Yes.
Susan Carley,
Yes.
Kurt Matei.
Yes.
Okay, I think we just got some feedback on that. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Item passed. Thank you, sir. Moving to item number 9, group applications, 1653 Spring Hill Avenue, subdivision and planning approval and zoning. All recommended for denial. Applicant admitted.
Yes, sir. And before Mr. Hughes speaks, I do need to bring to the attention of the commission 2 things. One, we have forwarded to the commission comments in concern with this application from the following people: Robert L. and Abby K. Johnson, Virginia Andriatis, Nancy Sept, Don Bowden, Cindy DeSena, Gail McCain, Jack O'Dowd, and John and Ashley Ashby. I've admitted the applicant, Mr. James Hughes, into the meeting. He has formally requested a holdover of these applications until the commission's October 1st meeting.
Okay, thank you. Sir, we have your application before us. It's recommended for denial, but you're now requesting a holdover.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or concerns by commissioners? Is there anyone here to speak for or against this?
No, sir. You have the correspondence, those that have concerns regarding the application. However, they were advised that the applicant had requested a holdover.
Okay, thank you. Having said that, we'll close public hearing session. Item number 9 is requesting holdover to our October 1 meeting, correct?
Actually, it's the October 21st meeting.
That's correct.
October 21st meeting. I'll make the motion that this item be held over till October 21st. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor of holdover till October 21?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passed. Item will be held over to our October 21st meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's the end of the items, applications. We have other business. Margaret?
Yes, we need to have the election of officers.
Okay. It's time for us to elect officers. I'm sure all of you are anxious to be an officer. So just, I see you chomping at the bit.
I'd like to nominate Jay Stubbs for chairman.
Second.
Jay Stubbs is nominated for chairman. Any other nominations? Hearing none. All in favor for Jay Stubbs to be chairman?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Stubbs, elected chairman.
Jay, don't drive off the road because you're now the chairman.
I pulled over, Doug, just
All right.
to control my excitement.
Thank you.
Is there a nomination for secretary? Well, vice chair?
I would move to nominate Jennifer Denson for secretary.
I have a nomination for Jennifer Denson as secretary. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any other names? As I suspect there will be none. Hearing none. All in favor of Ms. Denson being secretary, remaining secretary?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ms. Denson remains secretary, vice chairman. Is there a
I'd like to nominate Mr. Alan Cameron.
Second.
Alan Cameron's nominated for vice chairman. Any other names? Hearing none. All in favor of Mr. Cameron being vice chairman?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Congratulations, Mr. Cameron. You're now vice chairman.
Just
That's
what you
all.
always wanted.
That's all our positions, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And staff has no further information for the commission.
Okay, thank you. I thank you all for your support in my time as chairman. Enjoy.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you,
Thank you, Carlos.
Carlos.
Job well done.
Good job, Carlos.
I've
Now
learned a
adjourn the
lot.
meeting.